Hi there, everyone, and welcome to the Rupa Subramania Show. Today, we're talking about the fact that many parents across Canada have been protesting against gender ideology, which they claim is being aggressively pushed by our public education system, particularly here in Ontario, where there seems to have been a complete woke capture of the curriculum. Ironically, under a premier and a government that are nominally conservative. Now, what's been really interesting about these protests against gender ideology is that in recent weeks, many of the protests have been led by visible minority groups, including Muslim Canadians. These are people who believe in the founding values of their religion and have not been swayed into accepting woke ideology that they believe is being thrust upon them by our progressive political elites. To talk about these protests against gender ideology, what's animated the Muslim Canadian community, please join me in welcoming Bahira Abdul Salam, a recent Toronto mayoral candidate, and Ottawa entrepreneur Kamal El Sheikh. Bahira and Kamal, thank you so much for joining the podcast, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation that we're going to have today. So let me start with you, Bahira. Can you tell us what has animated these recent protests against the gender ideology curriculum in the school system here in Ontario? What specifically about this issue do you find problematic that has led so many people to take to the streets and protest?
So I believe like we have been feeling the issue, and it is not new. Like it has been there for a while, but I think what really triggered this issue was the incident that happened in Alberta, where the video went viral, and a teacher was trying to discipline students for not participating in the parade. So this really triggered a lot of families, and then they started to share their own stories about what has been happening in schools. So I believe this is what has been going on, and like it is not a new issue, and many people have been talking about it. Many people have been communicating with school boards and with schools. However, maybe this incident, I believe this was the key incident that triggered all this.
Yeah, so the incident being in the Edmonton school where teachers berating a Muslim student for not being fully into the whole pride thing, and then basically saying that basically telling this kid to leave Canada, and if you don't like our values, so to speak. Kamal, what about you? What specifically about this do you find problematic? What's animated you to get involved with the protests against gender ideology?
Well, I mean, as Bahira was echoing, Edmonton was one of them, but actually that's one of many, to be honest with you. I had the privilege of personally meeting the Alexanders, the family themselves, the mom and dad, and Josh himself, and they don't live too far from me. So I got first look on this issue about 6 or 7 months ago when Josh got expelled from school, and then obviously got banned from all schools in Ontario. And Josh is the same age as my teenage son, Mari. So for me, that hit home. And, he's a born again Christian. I'm a Muslim, right? And we're both Canadians. And so that was problematic for us. And, he's a devout born again Christian, right? Likes to hold his Bible and stuff like that. So it was kind of an infringement on his values. But Canadian values are diverse. What's to say what is a Canadian value? So that's one of them. But it's just, the incidences of indoctrinations in the school. Kids are, I got relatives, kids are forced to color different gender fluid things, flags, stuff like that. So I think I can't really pinpoint one incident because they all equally influence people to just, want to do something. I think the problem we had as a Muslim community, even the Christian community, they were actually relatively new to the dance. The problem we had is, we wanted to be kind and we wanted to respect other people's views. But then when compulsion came in many attributes throughout the country, that's when we said, you know what, hang on a sec, this is getting out of hand.
Bahira, turning to you, you've been quite vocal on social media, especially on Twitter, and you pointed to the opaque school regulations concerning gender ideology. That you said that this is even being taught to kids, even in grade 5, and you've also pointed to the fact that that parents don't really even have the option to opt out if they wish to, and you've detailed all of the problems with the regulations that govern the school system. What kind of reforms would you like to see in the management of our schools as far as this issue is concerned, so there's complete transparency and parents have enough notice that they can pull their kids out of such events that they find problematic?
Well, the issue and it is very complex problem. Like, we respect diversity and we are not trying to impose any religion or values, or we don't have any hate towards anybody, specifically children. Like, all children, we love them, we care for them. So what I found that asking for our rights to not to have certain ideology imposed over our children, it turned out to be like a completely different story, and this is part of the problem, because freedom of expression, freedom of religion, those are essential part of our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. So when someone tries to speak up against the school education or system that it's not working, and then we are getting all this hate and attack, this is a proof of that there is a reform that has to be done. This proves that there is a need for change. So what change I am proposing? We need to have our children raised or educated in an environment focusing on their the subjects, the maths, the science, the ethics. However, we shouldn't impose any ideology on them. So we need to have a reform about the education system and the curriculum to ensure that, and also we have to ensure the diversity and of our educators, because our educators and the values they carry, of course, they are, it doesn't matter what the curriculum is, so they carry specific values and they teach by example to their children. So ensuring that we have diverse teachers and qualified, this is also a critical issue that we need to look into in our system.
Yeah. How forthcoming has the school system been, the administrators and the people in the Ministry of Education? I don't know if you've had any kind of any interactions with these people, the people in charge of formulating these policies. Have you reached out to them, and if so, how receptive have they been to your concerns?
So I am actually a representative of parents in Ward 14 in Toronto. I was recently elected to be in this position because I also joined the parent council of Valley Park Middle School. And I wanted to raise the awareness among parents about the importance of their contribution, and how they need to be actively involved in the system. some schools, they don't even have any parent council. And this is really a problem. Some parents are not aware about the importance of the parent council. So this is something we need to raise the awareness about. So we like when there is something happening, we need to look into what are the factors that contributed to the status that we are in now. People shouldn't be afraid. You shouldn't be afraid of expressing your opinion and being proud of your identity. And this is why I'm really getting so vocal to set an example for everyone. Like, no matter what messages that you are sending me, or like, I am a Muslim, I'm proud of my identity. It is not something that I should be shying out of. I'm proud of my own values, and I want to raise my children on those values. So I believe that this involvement is important, because we are in a democratic system, right? And everything works according to democracy. So if we contribute more, and if we are more active in our school boards, I think this will solve a big part of the problem. And another thing is, I see that the school boards, the system is designed in a way that school boards are not, the government has no influence on the school boards. So this is something really, I think we need to have to look again into the power that we are giving to the school boards, and to have more auditing about what is going on inside those school boards, and which resulted in the status that we are having now. Yeah, I have a lot of other ideas, but I don't want to take much of
Yeah, no. I appreciate that. Kamel, turning to you, you've also been pretty active on Twitter lately, and you tweeted that when Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, dismissed Muslim Canadian protesters protesting against gender ideology as victims of disinformation, allegedly coming from the scary far right in the US. You said this was extremely disrespectful to Muslim Canadians because it implies you guys are just so dumb and gullible and so naive that you're just allowing your views to be shaped by right-wing influencers south of the border. How did that make you feel?
Well, I mean, obviously, it was demeaning. Bahira is a PhD, and she's an elected official in the education board. So, I mean, that's an example of a Muslim. Myself, I mean, I got a background in corporations and auditing and accounting, right? So, to suggest that, we need to be, guided by a hand to tell us exactly what to think and when to think. Both our Prime Minister and the Pride community think that they need to tell us what to think. And that's where the problem lies. I mean, Muslims, we're a compassionate bunch. We're proud Canadians. I mean, me in Ottawa, I had Hindu, Sikh friends growing up, Jewish and Christian and all sorts. And that's the beauty about Canada. I mean, we all had the same issues. We all complained about the weather and stuff like that. But to suggest that, we lack intellect to make our own decisions when we're praying 5 times a day, fasting Ramadan 30 days, like a month. And there's a lot of Muslim PhDs. Every fourth person you meet in the world is a Muslim. It's either a doctor, an engineer, a cook, a restaurator, so they come in all walks and creeds, right? So to suggest that, oh, you know what? These guys live in a little cocoon, and we gotta, tell them what to think. That is demeaning for sure. And I felt insulted, and that's why you saw that tweet go viral.
Yeah, Bahira, how does it make you feel that you're being called a far right white supremacist? And I believe, I asked this question as someone who's also been called a far-right white supremacist. Yeah, to you, Bahira.
I guess that makes three of us, right?
Yeah, there's more of us who are brown and who are far right white supremacists apparently. So it's a growing tribe. But anyway, Bahira, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, of course, we need to put politics aside when we are talking about the future of our children.
Absolutely.
It is very critical. Like people can survive living in a very stressful situation, getting very low wages, struggling with affordable housing. So all those issues are issues that people are living now. But when it comes to their kids, we don't really care about right or left or middle. We have values and we have our love to our children, and this is why we are here in Canada, because we believe that this is a country that respects human rights and freedom, and we are not here for ourselves. We are here for the future of our children, right? So we don't really, we are not influenced by anything other than our love to our children and our care and our love to everyone. We don't only love our children. As Muslims, we are very peaceful. We love everyone. We don't hate anyone. However, we have to put limits to our freedom. Your freedom shouldn't be pushing me away from my rights, and vice versa. So we agreed that the school system will be free from religion, but not to be anti-religion, right? So this is...
That's an interesting point. You, Bahira, have received a lot of flack on social media. I think you pointed in one of your tweets that you've also received death threats. What does it suggest to you about the? To my mind, this suggests hypocrisy of the progressive left. They like you just fine as long as you agree to their views, and that you have to basically be part of their cult, and they like you just fine if that's the case. But the minute you start exercising your own right to free speech, and you start expressing your own views, and you draw a line in the sand, in terms of where you are on this issue, does that not reek of hypocrisy from the progressive left?
Yes, of course. It is hypocrisy. It is kind of ignorance. So I see that there is a lot of misunderstanding and ignorance about other cultures and about other people, and about the way they think, about their values. So the comments I have been receiving, it made this more clear to me. So instead of attacking people, try to understand their objectives, try to understand their struggle, because I was reading something in psychology about when a minority they are looking for their right, they can be so extreme to the extent they turn to be the monster themselves, right? We shouldn't exceed or reach this level, right? We should understand that as much as we have our rights, the others, they have rights, and we are here not to impose our ideology on each other. This is the beauty of Canada. Every group of people, they have their specific culture and this diversity, but I see that there is the definition of diversity, it's getting some changes. Why diversity? It's not only about sexual orientation. There are, or maybe this is what the message that they are trying to teach us pride is not only about being LGBTQ. I am proud of my identity. I'm proud of being a Muslim and wearing a scarf. And this was, by the way, the title of the demonstration. We were not protesting. We called it, I wasn't one of the organizers, by the way, I was just attending, but they called it Haya Rally, which means like modesty. And we were saying that modesty is our pride. So when people are proud of their identity, doesn't mean that this is demeaning any other people or culture.
No, I think also some of the issues we are facing with this, it's kind of like almost like a narcissistic, condescending behavior. My rights trump yours, and we as Canadians, heterosexual Canadians of all walks, Christians, Muslims, you name it, all other creeds. I think we didn't want to insult or be rude. So we were silent and we said, you know what, you want to have your pride walks, whatever, you do whatever you want. We don't want to offend. But I think sometimes kindness can be taken for weakness. And that's where the problem lies. There's an element of negligence on our part. We're all responsible for not saying anything. But for 30 years, equal rights, tolerance, you need to tolerate us. People don't want to, insult or demean, but it got to a point where you had to say something. And I think what's happening today is the fabric of Canada is changing, where all other creeds are saying, hey, listen up, we're going to be active. We're going to be active in all levels of government, municipal, provincial and federal, but we're also going to be active in the school trustee boards, and we're going to be active in every organization that concerns our child, because you got to a point where you took our kindness for weakness, and that's where the line has been drawn. So there's a shift, a seismic shift from coast to coast of people saying, hey, diversity does not just mean your sexual orientation. Diversity also means straight, nuclear families, Muslim families, Christian ones, Sikh ones, all that kind of stuff. That's diversity too. And, for a long time, there's one flag. And now I find that problematic. Okay, great. You like your flag, but what about the Canadian flag? We all can carry the Canadian flag. That's, aren't we all one nation under God? And that's where we'd like to go with that, is hands off the kids, parents. Yeah. That's parental consent. Just like you come, my son's friend has to take my permission through his parents to see his best friend, to organize an activity. You have to take my permission for my kid to go on a field trip, but you can't take my permission for hormone blocking pills and gender modifying therapy for 4-year-olds at some point. Like, there's that rhetoric. And then of course, the pornographic books in the schools, and how does that feel and how does this feel? Well, you're completely disregarding people's beliefs with respect to raising their kids. And that's where we draw the line.
Okay, so that's a good segue to my next question, because you spoke about beliefs, and you're both Muslim Canadians, and as I understand it, Islamic doctrine would be opposed to not only to gender ideology, but even more basically to homosexuality. How do you address this issue in opposing gender ideology in schools? Are you also opposing homosexuality? Do you oppose gay rights, for example? Gay rights is now firmly entrenched as part of Western society, including gay marriage. Do you feel there's some desire to push back against these entrenched rights as well? Or are you able to draw a line in the sand between gender ideology and gay rights?
Okay, so let me make something clear. Growing up in Ottawa, I mean, I came here when I was 7 years old. I was supposed to be born here, but my dad decided, to come later. So I grew up in Ottawa. So, it's not like we're living in this little bubble and, you don't have a gay colleague at work. I managed a team of 3,000 employees. There's some people that were in transition. some that were homosexual, and I didn't care about your sexual orientation. I don't want to know about it. I just want to know how productive you're going to be at work and how good you're going to be in a team. Okay. And some of them were exceptional in terms of work. I had a gay boss. I actually had 3 gay bosses. So, I'm going to separate the work from the way of life. In Islam, yes, it is forbidden as a sexual orientation. Yes. Now, is there Muslims that are gay? Sure. But you know what? You can't practice the faith and continue to do that. But that's completely up to you. Who am I to judge? In the end, we know that the Creator judges. My prerogative is, as a Muslim, because you're my Christian best friend and you eat pork, I still can't eat pork to be your friend, right? And so we agree to disagree. I have best friends that ate pepperoni pizza in front of me. I'm not going to hate them. I still love them. We're still best friends since elementary school. But that's the melting pot of Canada that I recognize. And I want to go back to that. You want to be gay, you do whatever you want. But don't compel me to engage in your pronouns and adhere to your indoctrination, because it's forbidden in my faith. Just like pork is, just like alcohol is. I got good friends that drink. I still don't hate them. That's their life. Who am I to say what to do and not?
But here for you, I mean, the same question for you, but I would like to, modify it a little bit. A lot of school teachers say that they worry that some students come from conservative religious families. They might feel very afraid or scared to share their feelings. Perhaps they're feeling gender dysphoria, or they feel that they might be gay. And they're afraid to share that with their families because they might get a strong reaction from their parents, because their parents are observant, Christian, Sikhs, Hindus, whatever. And this is why teachers feel that they need to intervene, that schools should be sort of a safe space for such, where kids feel free to express these things to the teachers. What do you make of this argument? And, you both have children. I mean, what if one of your child...
I have friends who have been through this experience, right? They came, their children came and talked to them and told them that I'm a gay, or I am whatsoever. Like, we are not monsters that are going to kill our own children. We understand that this is something children are going through because of many reasons. I don't want to elaborate on this, but we parents have the right to deal with issues regarding their kids. If there are some exceptional cases where there are some violence or some extreme, so this is not the role of the school. If the school want to intervene, we need to have more social workers at school to look into the psychological problems of the children. This is a complete different story and a complete different problem we are having in our schools. So if you really care about the problems, psychological problems children are going through, or any struggles, why do you put a social worker half a day for a school of thousands of students? Social workers are qualified to deal with those situations. Teachers, they need to be there to teach, not to interfere with any kind of, and especially at this age, like children at this young age, they don't have those kind of challenges. We need to love them, to care for them, and to give them the education they need.
I've made this argument that, even if devout Muslims or devout Christians, any group, any denomination, even if they didn't accept homosexuality, tolerated, this, accepted it as a fait accompli, that this is it. This is, we're in this country. These are the values of this country. We may not necessarily agree with this, but we have a live and let live approach, essentially. Just don't push this on us in the way that's unfolded with gender ideology. So the question really is, do you oppose gay rights?
Opposing gay rights, I don't know if it's really opposing gay rights and stuff like that. I think, again, I worked with the gay colleagues almost all my life. To come out and say, oh, I oppose gay rights. I mean, this is Canada. Canada is not, it's not one doctrine. It's not Muslim. It's not Christian. It's not gay either. Okay. So Canada, I don't think you have to worry about violence in Canada. Canadians are a pretty peaceful bunch. 35 million Canadians. I don't think you see gay people burned at the stake, and stuff like that. So, I know that question often comes up. Like I've been to 9 protests in 3 weeks, and I will say to you, I've been called terrorist. I've been called fascist. I've been called hater, murderer, and it's like, holy smokes. I know you guys are having, and some of you guys are having some real social issues with your gender dysphoria. And I could see it on the ground. And I'm here saying, hey, can we sing "Oh Canada" together? Right. And so there's a lot of anger and distaste coming from that side. Us as Muslims, I will tell you, in Islam, it is forbidden. It's a forbidden sexual sexual misconduct, like the Dalai Lama said. He said that in an interview. But again, who am I to judge? You want to be gay? This is Canada. You go do whatever you like. And if you want to be a drag queen, I don't think anybody had a problem with you. I mean, I disagree with it, I'll tell you that. But when you were in the strip club stripping for other men, I don't think anybody came near you. The problem is you came, and in a drag queen event in Toronto, you stripped in front of kids and your genitalia fell out. That's where the problem lies for us. So it does seem like, oh, you know what? We're here to take your rights away. It's not about that at all. Okay. I don't care what you think. You can go and identify as a space Martian and, ask Elon Musk to take you to space with them. Go do whatever you want. Who am I to tell you what to do? But in the end, when it comes and it infringes on my kids, my society, my ideals, that's where we draw the line. So gay rights in Canada, came about, what is that, 10, 15 years ago now? You can get married. You can do whatever you want. Like, I don't know, even in conversations at work, we're not talking about my gay colleague. I'm actually talking to them about a public relations thing that we need to get done, and the deadline is on Monday. So I don't care what your personal life is. And again, this is Canada. This is not some place in the world where people get burned at the stake. Okay, let's validate that. And that rhetoric, that aggressive rhetoric, I don't think should be had anywhere in our narratives. Let's talk about where you infringed on Muslims and Christians and Hindus and Sikhs and Buddhists, okay? Because you're telling them this is the way to be Canadian. This way. That's it. Drag queens, pedophilia to kids, 4-year-old gender hormone therapy. And we're going to use they, them pronouns. Wait a sec here. That's your ideology. It's like me saying, I won't talk to you, Rupa, unless you fast 30 days of Ramadan. Then we can talk. Or I won't talk to you, Rupa, unless you pray 5 times a day, disregarding what you believe, Rupa. So that's where it doesn't make sense to us.
Yeah. Bahira, do you want to take, what is where do you stand on this?
Yeah, definitely. I agree about that. We are in Canada. We believe that everybody, we are not aiming or hoping to change Canada to be an Islamic country.
Islamic state or fatwa.
Or apply the Sharia law. We
Yeah,
are, by the
I've
way,
heard that a lot
there
in
is,
the protest. Thank you
yeah,
for
there is
echoing
another
that.
flag for those who are calling for Sharia law. We were carrying Canadian flags.
Canadian flags. We have a Muslim flag, by the way.
Yeah,
We have
there
one
is
with an
this
arch.
black
I
one.
don't think you
When
see that
you
in any
see
of our
us
protests.
raising this black flag, this means that, oh, those guys are going, they are calling for, like, I promise you should be alarmed at this time, but we are not. Actually,
yeah.
we are respectful for the law, for the Constitution of Canada. And personally, I have been working with some of the leaders in the LGBT community in politics. I have been helping them, and I didn't care. I don't care really what you what you are doing at home. This is your own business. This is not my business, right? What we are the problem starts to happen when it is touching the education of our children at school, and when the opt-out option even is not allowed, and when our children, and by the way, there are the flag and the signs and this psychological
Indoctrination.
influence. Yeah, it is affecting the kids for sure.
Yeah.
So we are in a country that is that doesn't have any influence of religion or ideology at schools. So this is what we really need. Yeah.
And here's I'll give you a Quranic quote to make the equilibrium between my comments and Bahira's. There's no compulsion in religion. That's a Quranic quote. So we can't compel anybody to do anything against their will. Now, even unfortunately, the media likes to spin that and use what is convenient in terms of rhetoric to silence people, just like you would go to a white Canadian good Christian person that's a law-abiding citizen, doesn't have a criminal record, telling them, oh, you're white, you're often misogynist, you're the fringe. You know, that's how you silence them. You do the same thing with Muslims, right? And then you do that with every other creed. You can pinpoint anything to silence anybody, right? And that's where the problem lies.
Yeah. And by the way, just I wanted to comment about the different people who approached me, telling me, Bahira, we are with you, we support you. And even atheists who have no religion, they told me, Bahira, don't forget us. We are also with you.
I got that too. And they're on my team. They're on my planning teams.
Okay.
So
amazing. Yeah. No, this is. I mean, it's so heartening and also funny at the same time. It really is quite surreal. We're running out of time, but I really want to get this question to the two of you. Since 2015, when Trudeau was first elected, it's well known that the Liberals, view the Muslim Canadian constituency as an important one, as does the NDP. Do you think that pushing on this gender ideology issue as aggressively as they have, Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh, you think they've lost the Muslim vote and Muslims could possibly be seen as voting conservative because of this issue?
Here's what's happening. Obviously, this campaign is very nonpartisan. We're putting pressure on all political parties because all political parties are, some kind of using that political rhetoric to get the votes. Now, obviously, Muslims, if you look at the past, I would say 40 or 50 years, generally Muslims voted NDP and Liberal. You're right. Now, in the past 5 or 6, I'll be honest with you, I see a lot of Muslims voting Conservative, PPC, and all that kind of stuff. So, I guess what I should say is, yeah, you're right. At this point, Trudeau has lost the Muslim vote. Does that mean all Liberals don't get voted in? No, there are some good Liberal candidates, and some of them are close friends of mine. It's not about that. It's about, wait a sec here. All you parties are just banking on a vote. Oh, we'll have the Muslim vote. We'll say this, we'll say that, and we'll say this, and we'll just get in. No, no, no. You're taking us for granted here. We're going to hold you all up to a standard to represent all Canadians fairly, and then we're going to vote accordingly. So the Muslim vote, Muslims are very, very well-educated individuals. Obviously, they're concerned with their motherlands, wars, and whatever, depending on where they came from. But they love Canada. They embrace the nation. They identify as Canadian, right? They love the Canadian flag, love the Canadian values and stuff like that. They might complain about the weather a bit, but that's pretty much it. They want to see Canada prosper and that diversity. Like, I mean, Trudeau, he won Muslim hearts in 2015 when he said a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. And then we've come together based on our commonalities while respecting our differences. Oh, you know what? I think you made a mistake there, because now you're not respecting differences and you're not coming on our commonalities. You're just taking one distinct group and you're pushing it all on other groups, and you're demonizing the groups that dare to question and say, hey, this is not a fair game you're playing. Right? And he openly goes out there and puts pressure and just hypes, you know, the visible minority community, which is the Pride community. So it's kind of like causing a friction of some sort, which wasn't there before. And I don't think Muslims are a very compassionate bunch. They're very humble, no matter how educated or how much accolades they get. They still gotta prostrate, put their head on the ground, and be reminded that they're a human being going back to dust, right? So they're compassionate. And the Canada that Muslims want to see is, we're going to hold all politicians accountable, and the politician that best represents all Canadians fairly is the one that we're going to vote for.
Okay, Bahira, what about you?
Well, I see that lots of Muslims have been supporting the Liberal Party for the same reason. I'm one of them. I have been supporting the Liberals, volunteering with them for a very long time. And even before I was a Canadian, like before getting my citizenship, because really, I believe in the importance of political involvement and being active, and I believed that the Liberals were the best party to represent me, to give the rights for each group. However, the moment I have seen a lot of my friends, Muslim friends, they are turning to be conservative, supporting the Conservative Party because of the LGBT agenda.
I've seen that too.
A lot of them. And every party, they have their own shortfalls and their points of strength. And but when it comes to a critical point like this, when we don't get the support, when we don't find ourselves valued and having the rights like everyone else, I will not be really supporting the Liberal Party. I will, and I was so much shocked by the post, the tweet of the mayor of Mississauga, and I believe that when she wrote in a negative way about the protest that we did, this incited more hate between people, and this is the role of leaders. The leader should be there and should be very sensitive to what they are saying. So
should calm everybody down too, because it's a very intense issue. People are stressed out. Their parents, mothers, like, what is a woman? Now we're asking what a woman is. Persons with the ability of carrying a baby. Really? Okay. So these are the challenges that we're facing right now. It's stressful times, and leaders have to be leaders by bringing people together and asking for calm. What's happening is, wait a sec, I'm going to pick this and I'm going to bet all my marbles on this group. And then obviously hate comes back and forth. And that's what's happening in the political climate
Yeah, I think they miscalculated
Absolutely.
how the effect of what they are doing or those policies on the Muslim community, and how offensive those comments or those policies are right now. So I feel that they are losing a lot, and it and definitely many people maybe will be voting for other parties, because unless that we see real change, like if we
Yes.
see a real
So
change,
let
we
me add.
see that. Yeah.
Sorry, let me add something to that, Bahira. You said something very important, and let me give you an example of what happened when Rupa was asking the conservative question. Like in Ontario, for example, obviously, Muslims voted for Trudeau at the federal level, then voted in Doug Ford at the conservative level, because they Muslims ousted Kathleen Wynne for bringing in the pedophile books into the school, and Doug Ford promised. A conservative Doug Ford promised that he'll take those books out, yet the agenda is going forward. So let's be honest here. Conservatives and liberals have been guilty of this indoctrination all across the board.
Yeah. Kamal, just to quickly jump in, and we're really running out of time, but on that, I mean, it's a very important point. The Conservative Party of Canada, the federal Conservatives, have not exactly waded into this completely. They've kind of been on the sidelines, and I have criticized them in various places for not taking this seriously enough to actually take a position on it. What would you like to see from Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party regarding gender ideology
He did mention a few words in the Calgary Stampede. Again, I'm watching all politicians with a magnifying glass, and I'm an upset and concerned Canadian for the nation and its prosperity moving forward. So Pierre Poilievre, I know he's trying to get more votes, and he's slowly, capitalizing on some of these, and he's saying, Mr. Trudeau, hands off the provinces type thing and stuff like that. So we heard that. But again, I mean, people see the flip-flop back and forth. Do you really want to run this country? Stand for principles and stand stern. Okay. Indoctrination, let consent be for the parents. If you're under 18, you must have parent consent. Hands off the kids. You want to be a transgender at 18, you go right ahead, do whatever you like. You're in Canada. Nobody's going to hold you to the stake. Okay. But again, what's happening today, the pornography in the schools, I have two cases that came to me. One Muslim lady from Toronto came to a protest in Ottawa, the one that we had thousands on Parliament Hill. She told me a drag queen and a teacher sexually harassed her son, a 5-year-old kid. Another one from Montreal, her son also got raped. So there are issues like this. Now, these are both Muslim moms. I had a Christian girl, 33 years old, say, thank you for doing this beautiful campaign. She's crying to me. I didn't know why she was crying. I had to actually go to the side and talk to her. She said, I was raped as a kid, and I see this as liberating for me. So those are the people that I think about when we're going into these protests. We're also not, trying to get back what Canada stood for. We're also kind of inspiring lives and giving people hope. So what I'd like to see from the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre himself said, listen to Canadians, go down there and listen, and don't just look at polls and stuff like that. Be genuine about it. People see that, and people are watching.
That's a very good point. Just last question to you, Kamal. I want to just and very quickly tell us about this march that you're organizing in the fall, and what do you when is that happening? How and do you expect it to be as big as that it that you hope it would be I believe it's going to happen in September. Just real quick.
Yeah, so it's a fall. So here's what's been happening. I'm not organizing the march and saying it's in this area and that area. What's happening is my phone has blown up. I got people from Calgary saying, Camille, we're going to go down. And then I see thousands. And then I get calls from Toronto and Mississauga telling me, Camille, we're going down. I say, hey, kudos to you. And then I see thousands protest there. Then I get Montreal. I've been doing interviews in Arabic overseas in Lebanon and Iraq and stuff like that. So what's happening is people, like you see Bahira, I just met Bahira. Things are happening organically. I've met you organically. People are coming together. It's a protest that's going to merge several protests. I just talked to Billboard Chris himself, and he said, I'm organizing a protest in Toronto on September 22nd. Well, guess what? This 1 million people march that we've been compiling based on data and based on our team, I have people telling me, and this is just the Muslim schools in Ottawa, Ontario, that area, 30% of the schools are Muslim, and they're committed to walking out along with their parents. One of the schools in Ottawa has 70 to 75% Muslims. So, and this is just talking the Muslim demographic. But then you get somebody like Dana Metcalf with Project Indigo, who's a good friend of mine today, that I also met organically. Chandra, I haven't met yet in Niagara Falls, Taking Back the Rainbow. They had thousands of Christians protest and say, hands off the kids. And everybody is on the same team. So what I've been put into is as a dad coming in, I didn't even organize any of the protests. I came in and I was asked, we need you to speak, we need you to do this. And organically, all this came together. And now all of a sudden we have chapters throughout the country. So 1 million people, I think at times it also feels like an underestimate. I think we're going to have a lot of people come down, just like you would see Pride, hundreds of thousands come down, and they're a minority in Canada. Well, the heterosexual populace, that's over 97 to 99%. That's, 1 million out of the 35 million, that's a minority, I would say. So I'm just making it easier, and I'm just saying 1 million people march in September. It's on, and it's on from coast to coast.
Okay. Well, on that note, I'm going to have to sadly, bring this to a close. But I really want to thank you both, Bahira and Kamel, for joining me and for this great conversation. And best of luck to the two of you with everything that you're doing. And I'm sure I'm going to have you guys back perhaps in September before the Million March, and which probably will end up giving both Trudeau and Singh more nightmares than they hope for. But yeah, good luck to the two of you, and I hope to have you again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for doing this.